Entrepreneurship is really important. It's responsible for the prosperity and the wealth of nations. We have seen economies translate from underdeveloped economies to developing economies to advanced economies just because of entrepreneurship. So, what really is entrepreneurship and how does it really play a vital role in this? So, if you remember the things that we learned while in the primary school or maybe the high school, there is this concept we call the factors of production: the land, labor, capital, entrepreneur, and I should add knowledge. So I consider that there are five factors of production. Okay, so we have the land. Possibly we can call that the workspace where we need to work and get things done to produce. Remember, we're talking about the factors of production. We want to really produce, and to produce, we need a workspace we can call land to produce. And as we do those things we call production, we also need people. Because one can make it happen. So we need people also to be part of the production process. In addition to that, also we need maybe some form of capital. It could be maybe financial investment or maybe some form of equipment to also enable the production process. And we need someone to coordinate the whole process. We call this person the entrepreneur. And to help him also, he needs knowledge to boost his performance in the whole concepts around production. But remember, we are talking about production here. And if we look at the entire picture of this, there is one person really important here who makes all the other factors of production really important, from the land to the labor to the knowledge. And this person really is the entrepreneur. This means that the entrepreneur is really, really important, because without the entrepreneur, we can't have land really used effectively. And without the entrepreneur, we can't have people employed. Without the entrepreneur, we can have loose capital or capital available for stealing or for corruption. And without the entrepreneur, we can't really employ knowledge to create value or to produce prosperity. Let's now look further a bit from this and explore from a broader perspective. So I consider that there are two categories of nations, and that's the producer nations and the consumer nations. So the producer nation is the one that really produces, and that's what they do. And production is a lot easier for them because of certain things they put in place, and this also will be linked to entrepreneurship as I explained further in this. Now, what the producer nation basically does, it produces, gets its own raw materials, refines them, produces, and exports and sells to the world. We also have another category called the consumer nation. It's not that they don't produce, they actually produce, but they consume more than they produce. As a result of that, they don't have a lot of wealth. And for the little wealth that they have, they focus a lot more on consumption. So one of the features of such kind of nation we can call a consumer nation, they import a lot. So a bulk of the things that they consume, they don't produce. They actually import. And if we trace from what I said earlier about the entrepreneur, and we also look at what we said about the producer and the consumer nation, let's reflect deeply on that. What exactly is production? Production is possible because we have one person called the entrepreneur organizing the other factors of production to produce. So the strength of the producer nation basically is the entrepreneur. Because they have a number of entrepreneurs that are able to produce, and they also have what they can produce to consume and also to export to the world so that they can have some form of wealth injected into the economy. But for the consumer nation, it's clear that the person who is responsible for hiring land, the person who is responsible for hiring people, the person who is responsible for employing capital, and maybe also employing knowledge to produce so that they can also produce for themselves and for others, it's apparent that that person is in short supply. And this person is called the entrepreneur. So from what I've said, there are symptoms of consumer nations, and I'll just kind of like mention three. One of it is high level of graduate unemployment. So we have graduates, educated people, graduates, but the bulk of them are unemployed. We also have high level of youth dependency ratio. So like in the case of Nigeria, it's about 83%. And thirdly, we have high level of crime because when we have people who are smart, who are educated, who don't have opportunities, there's tendency for them to find other alternatives that might not be beneficial for the economy at large. And fourthly, there's high tendency for corruption because smart people too, when they find opportunities that may not be legal, will take full advantage of that. So what does it take to really become a producer nation? If we look at how we buttress on the factors of production, and we see the role that the entrepreneur really has to play in the whole process. For a consumer nation like Nigeria, because Nigeria is actually a consumer nation, for a consumer nation like that, what needs to be done is to focus really on cultivating entrepreneurs. So let's look at some statistics. I watched the Goalkeepers 2018 speech by Bill Gates, and he brought out some amazing statistics about how the world has really worked hard on crashing the level of extreme poverty from 1999 till date. And so there are about two waves that have really been successful. And the first wave has been the one driven by China, where they brought down their level of extreme poverty. As at 1990, that was about 65%, and as at 2017, they had actually reduced the number, and about 500 million persons were already out of poverty. Now, the second wave had been India, and India from 1990, they were able to reduce the level of poverty by about 300 million people. Now, the third wave, which we are not into yet, but it's the whole picture around sub-Saharan Africa, where the people we can consider to constitute the largest fraction than sub-Saharan Africa. And there are two countries where we have most of those people, and one of those countries actually is Nigeria. And if we drill deeper into that statistics to find out where exactly, if you look at the whole population, what fraction do we have the most people? So if you look at the ages of 14 till about 30, that fraction consists about 42% of the Nigerian population. 42%, that's huge. Now, age 0 to 14, that bracket constitutes about 40%. So you have 40%, 42%. That's 82%. And if you look at that huge amount, which we can consider almost dependency ratio, and you consider the youth dependency ratio in the country, then it means the nation is really at risk. It means that there's a lot of financial stress and pressure on those who are really working. Because those who are not really working, who are not contributing economically to the nation, are a lot more, and their demands are a lot high compared to those who are contributing economically to the country. And this, of course, translates into poverty and a lot of other economic hazards. So how do we fix this problem? If we look again at the bracket of age 14 to 30, which consists about 42% of the population, most of them are in colleges. Most of them are in higher education institutions. And we can try to fix this problem by revisiting what we teach in schools. So a typical young person goes to school and graduates with the mindset of going to get employed. That is, I get trained, I get my degree and certificates, and I go into the job market to get employed. Now, that mindset kind of is really risky. It's risky in the sense that everyone is thinking about adding to the number of persons at the labor market. It explains why we have the level of unemployment going on the rise, because everyone is leaving school with the intention of adding to the labor market. Who is thinking about mopping up the labor market? And the only person who has the capacity to mop up the labor market is the person who employs labor or who creates jobs. And that's exactly the entrepreneur, as we referred to the beginning of the factors of production, the guy who employs labor, land, capital, and knowledge. That person is the entrepreneur. In that case, we need to revisit what we teach in schools, because what education should do is not just to teach people on award degrees and give certificates. What education should do basically is to solve society's problems. Right now, the problem in Nigeria, which is translating to a number of things, is high level of unemployment and high youth dependency ratio. And to fix that, we need to revisit how we teach what we teach in schools, while not discarding the theories and the other things that we consider important to ensure that we add massive value. It's essential that we help young people, particularly those within the age brackets of 14 to 30, which constitutes the largest amount of population in the country right now. We need to help them think differently. We need to help them think like entrepreneurs. We need to enable them to become entrepreneurs, for as many who will. It doesn't mean that all of them have to be entrepreneurs, but it just means that for those who are not, wherever they find themselves to add value economically, they're also thinking like entrepreneurs. For instance, at Cultivating University, we have this feedback, and this has happened like 3 years in a row, where record has shown that the report is by Stoughton that the university that has the graduates that are most employable are from Covenant University. Now, for those of them who are not entrepreneurs, technically they think like entrepreneurs, which gives them a bigger, broader opportunity and chance to become really employed, because they think like owners. They run the organizations that they don't own as though they own them. The value they provide, they add value massively. For those who own their companies, they build their companies. So we have a lot of feedback in that area. So what if we can take this same experience and scale across other institutions, across other universities? What if we increase the number of persons who graduated from higher education institutions, whether polytechnics or universities? What if we increase the number of those who think like entrepreneurs by 50%? And we help to transform the whole education system, and we contribute to that. So these thoughts actually made me to put together a couple of things I've been doing at Cultivating University and to come up with this book called Reach. And the intention basically is to reach about 50,000 people within this bracket of age 14 to 30, while not discarding the other group. But for me, this group really is important. What if we get this knowledge that has helped us cultivate entrepreneurs right here at Covenant University and highly employable graduates? What if we take that same knowledge and scale across board? And we see how we can make people who can also create value, who can create opportunities for others, and possibly create wealth. And if we can scale that whole process and also help to contribute to the advancement of the nation, so that we don't have time actually for crime, and so we don't have time actually for corruption, and so we don't have time to do things that have not really helped advance our nation, because the real strength lies at that age. If we can take advantage of this, then we can be sure that the future really is bright. It's in the book called Reach. As I mentioned, I put the book together to help scale a number of things that we've made happen right here at Covenant University in terms of cultivating entrepreneurs who start their own companies and also work in existing organizations where they add massive value. And this I've done from my own personal experience as an entrepreneur and also my experience in cultivating entrepreneurs, because how we teach entrepreneurship kind of is different than what a lot of people think. And so this is what I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to join me and help me reach 50,000 people. And any way you can do that, there's a link right on the screen. You'll find a lot of options where you can select exactly how you can be of help in helping to reach 50,000 people, so that we can help build prosperity and support the growth of our economy in Nigeria right from the basics as much as we can. My name is Stephen Oluwatobi, curator of Hebron Startup Lab.